watching Power News. Well, in today's episode, we're discussing India's Solar Vision 2020. To discuss the same, we've been joined by Mr. Tarun Kapoor, Joint Secretary MNRE, Mr. Shailen Kumar Shukla, Director CREDA, Mr. Ajay Prakash Srivastava, President SESI, Mr. Gyanesh Chaudhary, MD Vikram Solar, Mr. Vineet Jain, Managing Director Green Brilliance. Very good evening and welcome to Power News. Finance Minister announced during the presentation of Union Budget that concessions and exemptions will be provided for energy-saving devices, plant and equipments needed for solar thermal project during the setting up. But this hasn't gone too well with the domestic manufacturers who were expecting the same for solar photovoltaic industry. What do you have to say about it?
Solar thermal industry is not so much contributing so much in the country. It's good to give concession to that. There is no harm, because then we want to develop solar thermal also, because solar thermal is almost going to take over 50% of this total solar installations. But at the same time, the finance minister and the government should have looked into the plight of the solar PV manufacturers, because PV solar photovoltaic manufacturers are right now in a big problem. They are suffering actually, I would say, because of the competition from neighboring countries which get a lot of government support, so they can reduce the prices. They can reduce the prices of their cells, they can reduce the prices of their modules, and they can bring the product in India duty free. Whereas if I am a module manufacturer and cell manufacturer, if I have to import my consumables and my raw material, I have to pay duty on that. So on one hand, the duty on consumables and raw material is there, but duty on finished products is not there. So I am hit by that. So we were expecting, the whole industry was expecting that the budget this year would address that issue of solar PV manufacturers, but unfortunately it has not happened.
Solar sector has very little to cheer from Union Budget 2012. What are your views?
Being a manufacturer as well as an EPC player, we are definitely not very happy about that. But it has to be looked at a much larger perspective. There are challenges, of course, of the foreign companies bringing in finance at a very low price. The industry is not getting any support in terms of any border restrictions from materials coming in. I think there are 2 or 3 more areas where I think the government can bring in a lot more impetus to this industry. One is training of the people. There is no good training institutes for solar, which does not allow us to get the right kind of manpower. Also, I think the government can very well, bring in incentives for R&D. There are no real R&D institutes as well for solar in India. So these 2 areas have been totally overlooked by the government. I think there is huge scope in these areas.
Well, solar sector says that they have little to cheer from Union Budget 2012. What are your views?
As regards to disappointment in the budget, the biggest disappointment was that there is unchecked import of solar panels coming into India, which is jeopardizing the stability of these power plants. The second is the imports from China and other countries. China itself selling panels from a Chinese company to India or anywhere in the world. They get the pricing mechanism is better for them than selling in China itself, because they get a huge amount of subsidies for exporting from China, from the Chinese government. This is not a good signal. There is a huge amount of dumping that is going on for these non-quality panels and non-quality products in India. This has been a regular discussion that has been ongoing, but if it jeopardizes the quality and the performance of our projects in India, we need to look up, take notice of this. We were hoping that there would be an import duty element put in place for such thin film panels or such Chinese products, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Mr. Shukla.
Yeah, I think solar is the only sector in power section. Government has protected this solar sector at all levels. If you import solar, there is exemption in import duty. If you manufacture in India, there is exemption in excise. If you sell this solar in any state, either where it is at concessional rate 4%, 5%, or in state like Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Haryana, in some states, there is no VAT on solar. if you install the system in kilowatt, you'll get good amount of subsidy. Very handsome subsidy you are getting from Government of India. And in few states like Chhattisgarh, you are getting the state subsidy also. And if you if you want to set up this in mega size, then again government has given the protective price as REC, renewable energy certificates. Minimum price is 9 rupees, maximum price is 13 rupees 40 paise. Means government has ensured purchase of your power at such a good price, and that will be for next 5 years. In which other sector government is giving that much of protection? I think this is solar, and Government of India, whatever they are giving, I think we should salute to this government.
Over the past 2 years, lot of incentives have been offered to the renewable energy sector. Compared to that, there was little to cheer from union budget.
The Indian manufacturers are in a bit of a tight situation. That we know. We understand. We've seen that the manufacturing has been hit of late slightly. Earlier, the Indian manufacturers were exporting most of whatever they were producing here. There was no market in India. Now there is a market in India, but the market available to Indian manufacturers outside has shrunk. The market which has come up in India, probably some of it is going to manufacturers in other countries. It is happening because the total capacity, installed capacity in the world is now about 50 gigawatts, and the requirement probably is much lower. It's not even 50% of that. So the price has crashed all over the world. That we all know that the price has crashed all over the world, and the crash in price has to do with the excess capacity also. Probably the world market has not grown as fast as it should have. Indian market is growing as per expectations, but the world market probably has not grown as fast as people thought it would. But this has brought in a good thing also, that the price has gone down. Now, if the price has gone down, then in countries like India, where we want to achieve grid parity, we want this sector to grow on its own. So we see a good future for solar because of this, because the price has gone down. Now the question remains that how to make our own domestic manufacturers competitive, how to bring them at par with the manufacturers of countries, even countries like China. Now it's very difficult to compete with China, but I don't think it's very difficult to compete with, say, US or with European manufacturers. That our manufacturers should be able to compete at their own level also. They have certain advantages. But competing with China, we understand, is difficult, because maybe there are certain factors, certain things coming in China in various forms which probably may not be available here. But then we are, in the government, we are seized of this problem, and we understand that it is very important for us to ensure that our domestic manufacturers remain competitive. Then the second issue is regarding the high cost of capital. We are trying to work out something on that. Maybe we are seized of this problem, that one of the major costs which goes into the high cost of domestic manufacture is high cost of capital. So that's another area we have to look into. Then comes economies of scale, because the plants which have come in countries like China and all are upwards of 1 gigawatt, and they are able to offer very competitive prices, which has so far not happened in India. And the last factor is, of course, technology, efficiency, because cell efficiency all over the world now, 19% and more is commercially available. Here in India, it's just about 15.5% to 16%. So these are the major factors which we are totally aware of, which we have to look into, and we are with our manufacturers. We know that we have to handholds with the manufacturer. They are our partners in this this whole solar mission. We have to work along with them, and they have to sustain. Otherwise we are not successful.
So we can say that, you know, our domestic manufacturers, they need some kind of a protection. In US and Canada, they had protective policies over there, and we have all the more reasons, because we are not sure about the quality as far as Chinese equipment are concerned. So we have all the reason, but the good part is that Mr. Kapoor is also agreeing to it. We'll quickly take a short break here. You keep watching Power News. Welcome back. You're watching Power News. Well, in today's episode, we're discussing India's Solar Vision 2020. Now, coming to the solar mission, we have set a target of 1000 megawatt to be added by 2013 and additional capacity of 3000 megawatt by 2017. With present pace of progress, how confident you are that we'll be able to achieve this target?
See, installed commission capacity in the country today is more than 500 megawatts. And this has happened in the last few months. So, 1000 megawatts under solar mission and certain other capacity coming in under the state programs, all that put together, we would do much more than our targets. We are very certain of that now. As far as allotment of projects under NSM is concerned, we've already allotted slightly more than our 1100 megawatt which we wanted to do in the first phase. We've allotted more than that, and those projects are all on track. In phase 2, the National Solar Mission document mentions 3000 megawatt to be coming under Jawaharlal Nehru Solar Mission, and now we expect, the document also says that we can achieve up to 10,000 megawatts total installed capacity by 2017. That's already mentioned in the document. So now, in fact, we are talking of that 10,000 megawatts. We are talking of 10,000 megawatts by 2017, and we are very hopeful that that 10,000 megawatt figure is possible.
During bidding for phase 2 of Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, we have discovered a tariff of rupees 7.5. How has this historic tariff been achieved in just 2 years, from 10.59 per kilowatt in first phase to rupees 7.49 per kilowatt in second phase?
You are absolutely right. When we started this program, our minister announced this program in November 2009. CERC announced the rate of 17 rupees 91 paisa. In those days, we used to say that by 2015 we'll come to the parity with this coal-based power plants. But in just 2 years, it has come down to 7 rupees 50 paisa. This is the beauty of this technology, you can say, that the cost of the solar module is coming down. In 2008-9, just in 2008-9, the cost of solar module was 150 rupees per watt, which has now come down to 45 rupees per watt. So why this tariff 7 rupees 49 paisa should not come?
As Mr. Kapoor said, there is a huge production and supply, more supply and than the demand. So that also brings the cost down. It's a simple economic principle. But so because of that, there is a huge built-up inventory. So that could be attributing to some extent. But technology has also improved. Efficiency have gone up. When you make one cell 6 inch by 6 inch, it gives you 3 watts. When the same cells gives you 4 watt, you have increased decreased your price by 25% anyway. So that technological development and new machineries, new throughput, more yield, all these things have attributed to the reduction of cost also.
But both rounds of bidding has been a learning process for the sector. This time, the question which is being discussed is whether investors would be enthusiastic about funding projects with low feed-in tariffs approved in round 2.
The larger question is that whether such price reductions are sustainable. We have to see how the global scenario is emerging. Right now, in the last 1 year scenario, the cell manufacturers are suffering because of such volatility in the pricing, pipelines being stuck, a lot of inventory cost being carried forward on the balance sheets. So we have to realize not dampening the cheer on grid parity, but the larger question should be whether such significant price drops so suddenly, is that sustainable? There is a need for a price drop. It is important because we don't want to, as an industry, we don't want to be incubated forever. The government is supporting the industry to survive, to stand on its feet, but that has to be a gradual process. It cannot be a sudden process because it is a sudden death to all the manufacturers.
I think there is a need for the entire market segment itself to be increased. We have considerable land available for solar. There is a great opportunity for developers to use that land for alternate purposes like solar. Gujarat has done some very interesting things, like they have installed solar on their canals by not utilizing land but still providing solar, also providing insulation to the water from evaporation. So there are many things that can be done in order to expand the market. Another huge area which solar can service is BIPV, the building integrated photovoltaic. I think government should provide special impetus to the industry, special initiatives, special tariffs for people who install BIPV. I think BIPV should be part of the solar program. Along with rooftops, along with other areas, BIPV should also be integrated into the policies.
What are the major challenges in solar becoming the primary source of energy in India?
We are working on promoting rooftops that the results would become visible in maybe a few months from now. We want to open the sector with net metering and with certain other policy initiatives so that this sector opens out, so that everyone feels that it is a good decision to put up some solar panels on their roof, use that power themselves and supply some power to the grid, whatever surplus power they have. So we are working on regulations, we are working on systems, how this can work in India, and we've identified some 4 or 5 cities where we are going to pilot this in a big way. Like it's going to be 5 to 10 megawatts each in those cities.
Chhattisgarh is power supply state, but still we have highest number of rooftop systems in the state. How? How we convince the people that you should use this solar power plant? Take the example of some educational institution. Educational institution, they must have spent or they invested more than 50 crores, 60 crores to develop a campus. And what's the percentage they have invested to get the electricity in their campus? They have their own building, they have their own laboratories, their own buses, their own tube wells for getting the water. Why they are not dependent on Nagar Nigam municipality for getting the water? We convince them that if you just invest 1% of your total investment in getting this solar power plant, since this educational institution is not the power intensive unit, you can have a power plant of say 100 kilowatt or 200 kilowatt. Then for next 25-30 years, you'll have the free electricity for this institute. And now you name the educational institution of Chhattisgarh, you'll find solar water heating system in that.
We'll quickly take a short break here. You keep watching Power News.
आज फिर मशीन बंद हो गई।
मशीन तो ठीक है, बिजली धोखा दे गई, केबल ही घटिया है।
मानो या न मानो, आज भी कई औद्योगिक क्षेत्रों में बिजली की कमी के कारण हजारों लोगों को खाली हाथ घर लौटना पड़ता है। तो क्यों न एक ऐसा पावर केबल चुने जो बिजली बचाए, बिजली का घाटा रोके और शॉर्ट सर्किट का जोखिम घटाए। चुने रवीन केबल्स। प्राइम कैब, रवीन केबल्स उत्पादन।
When you are determined to be a winner, your desire to conquer is fueled by the power of your instinct. With eyes set on the target, you create your own path. Your determination inspires you to never give in. Then emerges a creator of a winning journey, blazing a trail for others to follow. We are Jindal Power Limited.
Northeastern Electric Power Corporation Limited, a Schedule A corporation under the Ministry of Power, playing a significant role in the integration and efficient development of hydroelectric and thermal power projects in the central sector, benefiting life, benefiting people. NEEPCO, contributing in empowering the life of Northeast region.
Welcome back. You're watching Power News. Well, if grid parity is achieved within the next 2 to 3 years, then we can plan to meet the major chunk of energy requirement in the country with solar plants. What are the factors which are coming in the way of solar getting grid parity and becoming a viable source for India's energy needs?
We see a situation where renewables would become primary and the fossil fuels may be there, may not be there, or people may not be using them at all. That situation is going to happen, and it is just a question of technology, storage, something on storage. So there is a lot of research happening in so many areas like the hydrogen cell, and so many other things could also be there. If we get a breakthrough on that storage part, then renewables is just the answer. The potential in India for solar power is so huge that you can generate power at least 10 times the requirement of the country. It is possible to do that. So which means that renewable resources have enough potential to fulfill the entire energy requirements of the country, or rather of the world. It is just a question of technology and cost, which will happen gradually. We all know that not only for environmental reasons but also for economic reasons it will happen.
Take the example of our office building. We have a small power plant of about 80 kilowatt on the rooftop. So the unit which that power plant is generating is more than the unit which we consume in our building. Saturday, Sunday, holidays, we are feeding this power to the grid. So our export is more than our import, right? So that whole building, it's 3-story building, our office building is power surplus building, you can say. Okay. Ours is not power consuming building, it is power generating building. So we can convert all the big buildings, which is a good rooftop area, can be converted into power generating buildings, power generating units. And that is the beauty of solar, decentralization.
We are an international company, and we have installed several homes in the United States which we call as zero energy homes. We have constructed many homes in the US which do not take power from the grid. There is adequate power available from the grid, but they are totally converted to solar by our company. So why that cannot be done in India as well? There is no reason for it. One of the biggest challenges also, as he put forward, is storage of solar power. I think that is really one very major area of concern, and there are very many cutting edge technologies which Green Brilliance is also working on right now, and we hope, may it be hydrogen, may it be other means of storing power, soon technologies will be available where storage issues would be answered to a very great extent. You would be able to store adequate power, produce adequate power in the day, and store adequate power to have complete independence from the grid. And I think that would really make solar extremely viable in all locations.
Every innovation starts with a dream. I was in discussions with a very senior solar scientist in Europe, and also there are some articles supporting that Europe is planning to set up a sub-Saharan solar power plant, which is going to be the largest in the world, with probably 100 gigawatt or something like that in the desert of Africa, and that would be powering the entire European continent. Now, how would it work when Europe is sleeping? That power goes to waste. So there was a dream that came up that if we have a connected distribution network across the globe, where each country, if there is sunlight in one area, there is darkness in the other, so one is feeding the other. So that is probably the way that the entire world can be environmentally friendly, renewable supportive, generating renewable energy and being sustainable.
Well, India has a very ambitious solar capacity addition plan. The question which arises here is that do we have enough skilled manpower availability to carry out the related activities?
Because the sector is growing so fast, therefore the requirement of trained manpower in this sector is huge. We have electrical engineers, we have civil engineers, we don't have solar engineers. That branch stream specifically is not there. And on the technician side also we don't have ITIs who specialize in this subject. So from the government, we do have a scheme where we are supporting institutions. If they introduce such courses, we support them in terms of infrastructure, in terms of equipment. And several institutions have already come forward to start courses. We also started a program where we train teachers in several colleges, so that they could maybe not a full course, but they could introduce few subjects. So from the government side, we already are working on this. A lot of institutions have tied up with us. We recently organized a very successful program with IIT Bombay where 1,000 teachers were trained, and now we are in the process of giving them small mini kits to those institutions so that they can set up laboratories also. And on technician side also we've tied up with certain ITI level institutions. So we are working on it, but then we want more and more institutions to come forward and start courses which are very specific to solar power at various levels, technician level, higher level, graduation level, post-graduation level. We really need that.
We have started this program in Chhattisgarh, like Chhattisgarh is the first state where from July session we'll start ITI in solar. We already introduced the syllabus, we already passed it in Vidhan Sabha also, so that will be through. And Chhattisgarh is a state where we have developed the network, good network of about 4,000 technicians. What we are expecting from these companies, like if you compare this with the TV manufacturer or the washing machine or the audio system, all other electronic market, why this market is developed? Because they have the better service network facility also in the country. Now in solar, you won't find a single service station or the display unit of their system in any city, which we are expecting from them.
It is very interesting that just this morning, between our directors of our company, one of the directors came forward and said that why should we not have a solar shop like Apple? Why should we not brand solar in India like Apple has branded the computer all over the world? And 10 years ago, there used to be no laptop sold in a shop in the US. It used to be all online. But today you go to Apple's shop and you have to stand there 2 hours to get inside to just get a computer. And that is branding. That is bringing the product to the people. Why don't you have a solar lantern or a solar mobile charger in your house is because you didn't know where to buy it from. Why don't you have a solar roof? Because you don't know how to go about it. So it is definitely, for companies like Green Brilliance, it is one of the priorities. And maybe the first one may come up in Chhattisgarh.
Well, with this we come to an end of this discussion. I'd like to thank all the panelists for joining us here in Power News. Thank you.